Lori Holt Filer, and Barbara Warden. Politically speaking, women were on a roll. Another gender difference is that women are often very cautious about entering the political arena. Most of us prepare for this new role. We study the issues, develop a campaign plan, line up family and friends as campaign workers. In fact, being risk adverse and fearing failure, I took classes for women candidates and learned how to run an effective campaign, to articulate and communicate my message and vision. I worked very hard during my first term in office. In order to be successful in building support for our schools, I did what all of you do, whether you're working for your church or a large corporation. I built networks and coalitions. I visited every school and parent group in the district. I spoke to chambers of commerce, retirement communities, and service clubs. I learned another valuable lesson, that to be an effective leader, it's important to engage everyone, every stakeholder, in supporting your cause or your mission. Within a short period of time, people were asking me to run for the state assembly because of new term limits and the new term limits law, and our current assemblyman, Jan Goldsmith, was soon going to be termed out. And cautious though I am, I took the risk. It seemed to make good sense to me, as my school district was a major part of this assembly district. By doing community outreach as a school trustee, I had earned strong visibility and name ID in this 75th Assembly District. After a challenging campaign, the help of the new open primary law, lots of wonderful volunteers, I won the election and became only the 77th woman to serve in the California State Assembly in its 150-year history. That's not that many women for all those many years. This election, my first foray into partisan high-stakes politics, is when I learned why women hesitate to run for political office. Partisan politics, as Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin will tell you, is very rough and tumble. In fact, some people call it a blood sport. Fortunately, contentious school board meetings and the world of business had toughened me up. But the effort was well worth it. Going to Sacramento was tremendously exciting. As the first Republican Hispanic legislator in our state house, I was a mini celebrity. I worked hard to build friendships and alliances with Republican and Democrat legislators alike. Working collaboratively with them, I was able to pass important new laws that provided greater protection for the most vulnerable in our society, our children, the developmentally disabled, and senior citizens. I felt tremendous personal satisfaction knowing I was making a difference. In 2002, I was faced with term limits and a decision. The term limits law that gave me an opportunity to run for the state assembly in 1998 was now threatening my political career 4 years later. I could either run for one last 2-year term in the state assembly or take a giant risk and run for an open Senate seat and extend my political career. I knew I would have a great challenge in seeking the Senate seat. California no longer had an open primary, and my district had been split by redistricting. With some trepidation, I accepted the risk. The result? For the first time, I lost an election. The next day after my defeat, I got up early as usual, put a smile on my face, and walked into my district office, ready to greet and thank my loyal staff. I knew they would be exhausted after a long election night evening. What a surprise, though, when I opened my office door and my office manager said to me, "You just missed a call from the White House." I thought she was joking. So I called the White House and I was informed that they wanted to appoint me to be a public interest director at the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. I didn't have a clue what that was, but I said yes. So I Googled it later and found that it was a $300 billion government enterprise which provided capital and mortgage liquidity to the banks in the western United States. It was a banker's bank. Thank goodness I had learned some business and finance skills. That day I learned another important lesson, that truly, when God closes a door, he always opens a window. 2 years later, Governor Schwarzenegger honored me by appointing me as director of the California Department of Consumer Affairs, a full-time position managing over 2,000 employees with a budget about $235 million. I loved it. I could put together and utilize all the chapters in my long career: healthcare, business management, and education, all wrapped up in consumer protection. At DCA, my bright DCA team and I brought together public safety people in all branches of government to protect consumers. We hosted many consumer protection summits. Our identity theft summit was the first ever in the world, and our summit on protecting children from online predators was one of the first as well. We brought in experts from the FBI, crime victims groups, district attorneys, and certainly the sheriff's office and other law enforcement. We were in the news daily providing important consumer tips. Eventually, though, the weekly commute to Sacramento became too much for Dave and me. He was now retired and we wanted to spend more time together. So I turned to the governor's office and requested reassignment closer to home. Fortunately, there was a new opportunity for me in San Diego. The governor appointed me to be his representative on the board of the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority. A year later, I was asked by the governor's office to be the director of his San Diego office, which I am doing to this day. And recently, my political career has come full circle. I came back to the world of education when I was appointed to the Board of Regents, the governing body of the University of California, overseeing policy for its 10 campuses, 5 hospitals and health centers. So the adventure goes on. I hope that in sharing my journey in politics, that you too will look to become engaged in the political world as well. All of us can be leaders and exert great influence. As women, we must make our voices be heard. 100 years ago, it was our forebears, the determined suffragettes, who not only gave us the right to vote, but it was through their efforts that child labor was outlawed by Congress and the states. Like them, you can easily be an advocate for your favorite issue. All you have to do is call your mayor or your congressman and register your support or opposition for a bill. As women, we cannot afford to just sit on the sidelines in important issues. We need more women in the legislature to advocate for families. If there were more of us, I believe there wouldn't be such gridlock in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. If there are potential candidates in the room, I would encourage you to go to California Women Lead website. This is a group that will provide you step-by-step advice in building a winning campaign. Or perhaps you may want to seek appointed positions. Go to your city or county clerk. They have a list of many vacancies that are very, very interesting in local boards and commissions. Or you can go to the governor's website. There are so many interesting things to do. When I do speeches, women will often ask me for career advice. Was I goal-oriented? Did I carefully map out my political career? Did I always aspire to go into politics? The answer is a big no. I think a quote by Sherry Lansing, the first CEO of a major movie studio, struck a chord with me, and it's great advice. Sherry could be speaking for me when she said, "Enjoy what you're doing. I have enjoyed all of my jobs. I never thought about what I was going to do next. I did the best job I could each day, and the next step in my career just grew out of that. So to each one of you, I say, do what you love and enjoy what you do, because you are women of influence. You make a difference. Thank you.